What if the very thing that broke you is the thing that will make you stronger?
That is the ultimate pivot point, isn't it? And it's really the mission for this whole deep dive.
It really is, because when we talk about a shattering moment, and that could be anything, loss, a career failure, a personal crisis, that feeling is so universal. It feels like the ground beneath your feet is just gone.
It feels like destruction. And the immediate reaction for almost everyone is to turn that inward. You think, I failed, or there's something wrong with me.
Right. But the entire stack of sources we're digging into today, from, trauma integration research to behavioral economics on self-trust, it all argues for something completely different.
Exactly. The core idea here is not about being fixed, because fixed implies you were faulty to begin with.
That's such a good point.
What this deep dive reveals is that being broken, it doesn't mean failure. It just means your old structures, your assumptions, your defenses have been deconstructed.
Cleared away.
Cleared away. It literally means something inside you is ready to transform. So today we're exploring the blueprints for how you rise from that.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Phase 1 has to be acknowledging the pain and releasing control, because you can't transform what you don't acknowledge. And that first step is, it's often the hardest, isn't it? Just admitting what broke you.
It's the moment of maximum vulnerability, but it is so critical. Our second source, which is all about emotional intelligence, it actually highlights the physiological cost of denial.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. When we pretend to be okay, the trauma doesn't just disappear. We just force all that energy inward. And the effort to appear fine becomes more exhausting than actually processing the pain itself.
Right. And what really stood out to me was this idea that pain isn't a weakness. It's a signal.
It's a message.
It's a message. It's telling you something mattered, something was lost, and your emotional map needs a bit of an update. It needs your attention.
Precisely. And real emotional strength isn't about being this cold, rigid, unaffected person. It's the complete opposite. It's the ability to just sit with that profound discomfort without immediately needing to solve it or push it away.
But how do we do that? I mean, it's one thing to say it, to understand it intellectually, but another to actually be in the middle of it all and whisper to yourself, I'm not okay, and that's okay.
Well, that whisper, that is the first moment you start to reclaim your agency. The source material calls this achieving grief literacy.
Grief literacy. I like that.
It's about recognizing that healing can only start when you give yourself permission to feel the entire messy spectrum of emotions. Denial is just chaos. Honesty is the first step toward order.
Okay, so once you open that door to honesty, you immediately hit the next wall, which is letting go.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the break happens because we're clinging so tightly to something that's already gone.
That desperate grip, that's where all the energy goes. We try to be an anchor for things that are already moving on. We try to rewrite endings or force answers to these huge questions that honestly don't have simple answers.
And this is where acceptance comes in. But I think a lot of people confuse acceptance with just giving up.
Yeah, and that's a huge misunderstanding we have to break through. Acceptance, as our sources define it, isn't passive at all. It's the quiet bravery of choosing your own peace over all that external chaos.
It's an active choice.
A very active choice. The moment you release that need to control things you can't, other people, the past, you stop hurting yourself with it.
And that's when you can start to see clearly what's actually yours to carry and what isn't.
It is. And Source 3 suggests this really gentle exercise for it. Just take a breath and consciously set down one thing you're holding too tightly. Maybe it's a fear or a resentment or that why. That is no answer. Just for a moment.
You just put it down.
You put it down. And that simple act starts to train your nervous system that it's safe to let go.
That lightness, that clarity, that feels like the perfect bridge into phase 2, rebuilding identity and redefining strength. Because after everything falls away, the big, terrifying question is, who am I now?
That is the question. And it can lead to this false idea that you're starting from scratch, from zero. But you're not. We have to be really clear about this. Who you were isn't lost. You're evolving.
You're starting from experience.
You're starting from experience and resilience that you did not have before. The new identity is built with, well, better materials.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because the research on psychological evolution, it details how that new identity gets built. And it's not through some big dramatic event.
No, not at all. It's shaped by the quiet, consistent choices we make every single day.
It's like neuroplasticity in action.
That's exactly what it is. When we go through a trauma, the brain feels this identity vacuum, and we fill that vacuum with our behavior. The new you is sculpted slowly, like dawn replacing night. It's not a flash of lightning.
But if you're feeling completely overwhelmed, the idea of rebuilding can feel just huge. Where do you even start when you're that exhausted?
You start small. You rely on what we call cognitive anchoring. Confidence doesn't come back in some big philosophical leap. It comes back through tiny, consistent acts that rebuild trust in yourself.
These are the bricks of the new identity.
They are. Think of a really small commitment, a 10-minute walk, making your bed.
Making your bed, yeah. I mean, the research shows that's not just busy work, right? It's a completion signal. It gives you a little dopamine hit and trains your brain to recognize, hey, I am capable of doing things.
It's the power of consistency over intensity every time. So the question for rebuilding, it shifts. It's not, how do I get my old self back? It's,
what kind of person do I want to become now?
exactly, what traits do I want to build this new self around?
Right.
Bravery, patience, self-respect.
And as we're rebuilding, we also have to redefine strength itself. For so long, the message has been that strength is being silent, being unbreakable.
Which, as our sources challenge, is what actually makes us brittle. The idea that vulnerability is one of the greatest forms of strength it's a huge shift for a lot of people.
It is. But we need to be careful here because the sources also warned against performative vulnerability. How do you know the difference?
That's a crucial distinction. True vulnerability is an intentional disclosure. It's done to build connection or to ask for specific help. It's not just venting at people or demanding emotional labor.
So it's not just an emotional dump?
Not at all. Hiding your struggles, that isolates you. But letting someone in intentionally, you realize, I'm not carrying this alone. It builds bridges that pretending to be perfect never could.
So resilience isn't pretending you're fine.
No, it's being honest enough to say, I'm hurting, but I'm still here. And what's amazing is that one person's vulnerability gives permission to others to be human too. It transforms a private struggle into this shared moment of strength.
That's powerful. And it brings us right into phase 3, cultivating unshakable resilience and reclaiming your power. We've acknowledged the pain. We've started building a new identity. Now, how do we make sure the next hit doesn't shatter us again?
Well, emotional resilience isn't something you're born with. It's built moment by moment. And the main tool for building it, according to the research, is deceptively simple. It's about mastering the pause.
The pause, that tiny little gap that feels like nothing but holds everything.
It holds all of your power.
Yeah.
One of our sources, based on conflict resolution training, calls it expanding the response gap. It's that tiny space before the emotional reflex, the amygdala hijack, takes over.
So you stop just reacting.
You stop reacting from old pain, and you start responding from clarity. You respond from conscious choice. In that pause, you take your power back.
So it's not just about taking a deep breath. It's about creating space to decide who you want to be in that exact moment. Which, of course, brings up the inner dialogue, because in that pause, the inner critic can be screaming.
And that inner critic is the voice of the old, fragile self. Emotional resilience grows the very second you decide to replace that voice with compassionate reframing.
Okay, so give us an example. What does that sound like in practice?
So instead of the old track, I'm failing, I always mess this up, the new self-talk becomes, okay, this is difficult, and I'm learning.
I'm allowed to make a mistake.
I am allowed to make mistakes. Every setback gets reframed. It's a lesson, not a verdict. You are defined by what you build after the fact, not by the tremor itself.
That perspective shift feels like the real foundation. So how does this all translate into reclaiming your power in the world? Because after a shattering, feeling powerless is, well, it's pretty common.
Rebuilding is, at its heart, about reclaiming the power that was always yours. The losses are just chapters. They're not the whole story. And reclaiming it starts with something very practical: boundaries.
Which people often see as being aggressive.
But they're not. They're an act of radical self-respect.
Yeah.
Of energy management. Saying no isn't selfish. It's a declaration that says, my energy matters. My healing matters.
And when you're exhausted from the whole experience, it can feel so hard to hold those boundaries.
It is, which is why the environment is so important. If you are trying to heal in a place that's constantly draining you, the people, the routines, you'll never build up the surplus you need to grow. Reclaiming power means auditing your territory.
You curate your surroundings to protect your healing.
You absolutely do. Your healing capacity is your most valuable asset. You protect it.
And it all comes back to those small actions again. A single choice to speak up. A pause. A walk. Each one is a brick that rebuilds your momentum.
And that power you thought was lost, it just comes back. decision by decision. And that's the culmination of this whole journey.
Yeah,
You didn't just survive the pain, you actually used it.
you leveraged it.
You leveraged it. The hardest moments didn't actually break you, they refined you. You moved from being brittle to being flexible. Every scar carries a lesson that leads you to become someone stronger, wiser, more powerful than you were before.
That's the transformation. Life might have broken you, but it also gave you the chance to rebuild into someone unshakable.
And if we think about the long-term impact of all this,
Yeah?
healing is just a series of deliberate steps. Honoring your boundaries, shifting your self-talk, the cumulative effect of that creates a future where you are no longer defined by your circumstances or what other people think. You're defined by the quiet, unyielding determination of the person you have intentionally chosen to become.